Okay. Three, two, one. And welcome back to the Walter Bosley Channel for another fascinating episode of Killafornia with our guest, William Ramsey. How are you, William?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back. Great to be with you guys
Yeah,
again.
always good to see you. And Todd, is, of course, is here.
Hello, Bosleyverse. Glad to be here. I'm very excited about this show tonight. We're doing a deep dive into one of the main cases that was a major influence on the first season of True Detective. And you
Okay.
know how Walter and I love True Detective,
Season one.
season one especially.
In fact,
S-
that is the only true detective as far as we're concerned.
That's right.
Two, I'll tell you what, season four made two and three look better.
Yeah, that's right. So
So let's
let's,
jump into this.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it. William, you want to start us off and give us some background about Hosanna Church, or maybe the background about where this all takes place.
Great question. I have a set of slides here I can share with you guys.
Cool.
Let me see if I can bring them up because I do have a map. It'll show you where it took place, what the church looks like. It was called Hosanna Church, thus the name of this whole scandal. And it took place in a place called Ponchatoula. And if you
Yes.
see that, I think on the screen you should see about two slides there,
Yes.
Walter. So the
Yeah.
above is the church, and beyond that is Ponchatoula, which you see is about, I think it's about 20 miles northwest-ish of downtown New Orleans. So you kind of see it in the center of the map there. I think it's about 45 minutes east of
So,
Baton Rouge.
Right.
so it's a small little place. It says here that the population is about 7,454.
Yeah, and it's apparently a very religious place, Christian, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of churches, a lot of different
Right.
types of denominations. And this was an odd case that took place there in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody asked asked the guy who wrote True Detective, you probably know, is Nic Pizzolatto. They asked
Yes.
him what the inspiration was, and he said, "Look this up. Look up church sex scandal Ponchatoula." And this was it. And this is kind of like this very dark. This is like for people who are listening, just like uh alert, alert. This is really dark stuff. Satanic
Right.
ritual abuse inside a church involving kids. So this is a
Yeah.
really horrible stuff. And that's what kind of is the secret of or what's going on with True Detective.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. There's a really good article here that I brought up. It's from Daily Mail. It's from 2014, right after the True Detective was dropped, I think in 2014.
Uh-huh.
And the title here says Babies in Black Dresses Abused While Laying in a Pentagram, Drinking
Oh
Cat's
man.
Blood, and Satanic Writings on Church Walls. The Twisted Confessions of the Pedophile Pastor from Louisiana who inspired True Detective. And
Okay.
his name was Louis Lamonica Jr. He was actually the son of the original pastor. So his
Uh-huh.
dad started this thriving church. I forgot what, I think it's a
Right.
Protestant denomination.
Protestant. Okay.
And then his son took over and things went south from there.
From what I understand, this church basically secretly converted to Satanism.
Yeah, it's like externally it looked like a church out there, but they were secretly involved in some kind of
Hmm.
Satanism that also they still kind of functioned as a church. I guess the father had a very thriving church, and then it
Yeah.
narrowed down, and people are like something weird's going on, and it kept a 15 member. So that's like another story about this. It was a network. There was a
Right.
police officer. There were other people. There were women and
So
men involved.
so you say about 15. So are we to is that like the administrative staff
I think
inside the
that's what
church?
that according to what I read, that was all that was left at the church in total.
I
Was like
see.
15 total members. And they
So that's
lived
the
at the church.
congregation.
Correct.
Got you.
There's a really good 20-minute video on Vice that you can check out that I highly recommend that
Hmm.
has a lot of first person stories, and it shows the people who prosecuted the crime. It
Yeah.
shows the FBI was involved and the police. And one of the strangest things is that Louis LaMonica, it's something burdened his conscience because he just walked into the police office there in Ponchatoula and confessed. So they had this long confession, which is not public. It's very hard to come by. You have to like request it from the cops, but it's in part on this Vice thing, and it's super dark, the stuff he confessed to. And it led on to like a 3 month investigation, and they had a whole like trailer of data that they got, and they convicted all these people. The two main people are Louis Lamonica Jr. and this other guy whose name escapes me now. He's probably on this thing. It's
Now,
Austin Bernard. They have life sentences. They were
I see, I
convicted.
see. So, what do we know about Luis LaMonica Jr.'s past? Was he a member of like the Church of Satan, or how did this guy become a Satanist?
That's a really good question, and it's not really answered, at least in what I read through. I
Hmm.
read through all the appellate documents, appellant case files, and anything I could get my hands on, but it just seems like he went south at some point, and he was really the ringleader. And there's just massive abuse, like he was abusing his own kids, and
Hmm.
then he had two boys who also said something. They made a statement to police, which they later retracted, but
Yeah.
it was like a lot of abuse going on between people. So it wasn't just one way. It was some kind of like really weird family unit.
Huh.
And but there was enough. They tried to retract the thing. The name
Hmm.
of the video you can watch is The Real True Detective on Vice. I
Okay.
highly recommend it. Has
Yeah, I'll check that
1.7
out.
million views.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
a pretty good documentary. I think that's the one I've watched, and that was where I first learned about the Ponchatoula connection, and it just made me more convinced that season two started out to be based on something real that they didn't want pursued. So,
yeah.
It's interesting. It tells the story. It's really interesting because they have the lead detective on there, and at the very end of the 20-minute documentary, he's like, "We just saw one piece of the puzzle. We don't even know what else is going on," and it shows how complex it was. Like there was trafficking, there were kids coming and going, there were videotapes, there were video confessions. So you see all those thematic elements that are involved in True Detective were involved in this real case.
Right. Right.
If you
Now,
remember, like the key element of True Detective is discovering Tuttle's videotape, right? That's
right.
what sets things off in the garage when he's in front of the pedophile swirl symbol.
Right.
So I have
Right.
like those screenshots in this, but I don't know how far you want to go into this.
Yeah,
But
let's keep going.
they say the fear up to 25 children could have fallen victim. He confessed falsely because he was supposedly under the spell of a charismatic woman to denounce as a false prophet. So they had like false prophet women, and they had nicknames for everybody.
What were the nicknames?
I'm trying to remember offhand. It's in this article. But the mastermind, Trey Bernard was the mastermind. And then there's the lady. So Robin is the lady there on the right,
Oh, no.
the mastermind. He used his 1-year-old daughter in a sick ritual. A cat was killed and its blood was spilled on the child.
I guess that might be the reference to the cat being nailed to the door, turned outside and nailed to the door that gets talked about in episode one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
This week, writer, I'm reading from this article. This week, writer Nic Pizzolatto hinted that this case was his inspiration for HBO's massive hit True Detective, in which detectives Marty, Hart, and Rust Cohle, played by Harrelson and McConaughey, uncover a ring of ritualistic satanic murders committed under the cover of a powerful evangelical establishment in South Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
So the first time males online seen the full shocking confession that fired the starting pistol of this notorious scandal. Um, LaMonica walked into my office, sat down just as you're talking to me now. Listening to him, like, here we're all Christian, kind of floored me. You're talking about a man who professes to be a preacher, a pastor, and a church leader, abusing children and worshiping Satan. So, like, he literally said that.
So this isn't like a Church of Satan type of deal. This is like theistic Satanism.
They had spells and weird things. I don't,
Yeah.
it happens all the time in these occult crimes that you and I have studied, Dodd. It's
Yeah.
the investigators don't ask specifically what books they have. Like, what
Yeah.
exact book are you reading? Who inspired you? Where are
Mhm.
you getting these writings? Often it's somebody else, but the investigators don't ask those specific
They,
questions.
I
That's
think, I think they just simply don't know. They don't know any better. They don't know
right.
how to handle occult ritual crimes. In South Africa, they have a special unit that just handles occult crimes.
I tried
And
to talk to that guy who was the head of the unit, by the way. He was not in good health when I tried to
really,
reach out to him. Yeah, I forgot his name. He had a total south because they have a massive black magic occult crime problem there.
yeah,
A lot of it comes from African stuff, so it's a different variant, but it's
yeah.
real. Like it's anyway, yeah, it's
Well,
bad.
I think in America we would benefit from having special departments that specialize in occult ritual crime.
I agree. They used to have one
Yeah.
in San Francisco, actually. They had a woman who was paid by the government to investigate occult crimes. It just
Huh.
went out of fashion.
Oh yeah, that book Occult Cop, right?
Yeah, I think it, yeah, and she's written
Yeah.
about it in other books. I have one. Um, I think she's in this book called Cults That Kill by Larry Kahaner. She's
Okay.
mentioned in it. Um, because she knows all this stuff. I think she's passed away, but she was involved,
Yeah.
It's interesting because in this case, the Hosanna case, the Richard Offshee testified here. He was also in the West Memphis 3 crime as an
Really?
expert. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's
So
unbelievable.
so there's 15 people involved in I want to say this chapter here. Could there be more than 15 if it's a larger network?
100%. That's what the impression was made to me. One is a
Hmm.
cop, one is a teacher. These are just four of the
God.
pictures. And there's kids involved. There's the two kids of Louis Lamonica Jr.
I can kind of see like with my peripheral vision that lady, is she wearing glasses?
The one on the bottom right is wearing glasses. That's correct.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, she looks like a pedo.
According to this, she called the sheriff to spill the beans on the cult just 2 days before Lamonica made his confession. So there must have been, it makes me think or deduce that there was some kind of discord within the group and people were going to start to talk. That's what I'm thinking.
Hmm.
They described a dark room where all the windows were covered in black, like black paper to keep it dark. There was a
Yeah.
pentagram in the middle of the floor. And he said, and a book of spells and temptations. On this occasion, he claimed there were 5 others present: Austin Trey Bernard, 36, LaMonica's wife, Robin, 45, church member Paul Fontenot, 21, Sheriff's Deputy Chris Labat, 24, and Patricia Trish Pearson, 56.
Mhm.
All but Labat later pleaded guilty to charges ranging from aggravated rape to sexual battery to obstruction of justice. Labat was charged with child pornography, but subsequently the charges were later dismissed.
Huh.
LaMonica stated they would start off like a church service, but it was satanic music. There were candles burning, dark red candle holders. In the dedication of baby into Satan with his pentagram, she was put in the middle in a black dress.
Yeah.
He described chanting around the child, Trey Bernard's daughter, barely 1 year old at the time, before killing a cat, draining its blood, and each drinking it. He claimed that they did not make the child drink because she was too young and instead took off her dress and sprinkled the blood over her. It's super dark.
Yeah, I mean, that is horrifying.
Yeah, these meetings, according to LaMonica, took place every 2 to 3 months.
Mm.
On other occasions, certain girls would be picked and have sexual relations with. The guys would line up one by one. They would come and they would have sex with that girl. And the same if there was a woman, they would have homosexual relationship and oral sex, acting like one was a man and one was a woman. He claimed there were feces laid around. There was urine. He claimed that during these satanic rituals, he'd become like a distorted. This is like a common tale of these like distorted faces. And I've heard
Yeah.
the same thing from like cult survivors and MK Ultra survivors.
Yeah.
He would become distorted by the devil and that demons would change him into an animal, a snake, a fox, wolf, spiders. Like
Huh.
that's intense.
Yeah.
And then this is the whole Mardi Gras theme that's in True Detective, like the all of the costumes and stuff.
Hmm.
His words are reminiscent of the notion of Courrier de Mardi Gras, central to True Detective's version of Satanism and the occult, and explained by Cohle as a very rural sense of Mardi Gras. You know, the men on horses, animal masks and such. In the show, the Cajun culture is twisted into the killer's satanic ritual of posing his victims with antlers.
Yeah.
In the Hosanna Church case, this translated into talk of animal masks, hoods, and gowns. These are all classic motifs, like the satanic motifs of animal
Right.
masks and stuff.
And the bodily waste laying around, that's kind of like Pazuzu Algarad, isn't it?
Sure is. Each
Yeah.
member of this group, this pedophile ring, had a nickname, he claimed. Trish Pearson was Bluey Black, after the colors on the spell book she carried. So they had spell books. Like, what are you doing? What spells?
Right. So are they writing, I think, are they writing their own spells?
I don't know. It's not clear to me.
Yeah.
There's a picture of the thing crime scene. It says, "I went here 4K. You let us down." Somebody spray painted that apparently. He called his wife Robin the lady because she was an organizer and made sure stuff goes right. Trey was the mastermind. Lamonica himself was chief. So there's your nicknames.
Yeah.
Lamonica stated the secret ceremonies had started in 1999 and carried on to 2003 when he and his wife separated and moved out of the church building. Bernard's wife, Nicole, left Bernard and took their daughter with her to Ohio. 2 days before Lamonica walked into Major Carpenter's office, Nicole had telephoned Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff Daniel Edwards, the man initially tasked with investigating the crimes that had taken place in his jurisdiction, with similar allegations. The news quickly broke in this small, deeply religious stretch of Louisiana. The church had a strong legacy in the area. Lamonica's father, Louis Lamonica Sr., founded it and was a respected and much-loved pastor. The church had thrived for more than 20 years. Lamonica's claim that the church had converted to Satanism in 2000 was profoundly, indescribably shocking. The building that had once been the heart of a community became a dark void at its center. It became a crime scene. Sheriff Edwards announced that there could be as many as 25 victims. When Bernard shared a notebook in which he wrote of the abuse, Brown took the writing he described as stomach churning to Labat and was left wondering why nothing came of it. Bernard later referred to, he saw himself as one of the group he referred to as a perverted musketeer, one for all and all for one. One by one, church members named by Lamonica were rounded up and interrogated. With each interview, the claims became more shocking. Bestiality was added to the already sickening mix, as Bernard and later Lamonica's own sons claims that he had sex with the family's pet poodle.
Oh.
Yeah, Austin Trey Bernard's interrogation, also seen on Mail Online, shows how deep the pull of religion is to this community. Bernard himself was a pastor who paused the police interview to pray. "Father, I come to you in the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ." Wow. "I invite your spirit into this place. I'm able to arrive at truth. I pray for Trey." Bernard had already confessed to abusing his own daughter since she was 2 months old. Wow.
Ugh.
There are echoes of the Hosanna case throughout True Detective. One of the real-life accused was Paul Fontenot. A child victim in the TV show is Mary Fontenot. So they used the same name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Austin Bernard was a key protagonist in the real case. Austin Farrar is a fleeting character in the fictitious one. So they use the same names.
Yeah.
Pizzolatto.
Well, hey, another interesting thing is one thing I pointed out in our last True Detective episode is there's actually in New Orleans a sort of I don't know whether I should call them Satanists or just punks, but a group of teenagers called Skate, and that's Satanic Kids Against the Establishment, essentially. And they committed a double homicide, either during Mardi Gras or the day after Mardi Gras or something. And the leader of this group was Philip Ledoux. So
Wow.
I do think that he was researching real life crimes in Louisiana and taking elements.
I think you're
For
right.
sure.
That's the
Yeah.
Ledoux is Reggie Ledoux, right? That's the guy with the
Right.
gas mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
By the time the case reached Amite Courthouse, Louisiana, in the summer of 2008, two competing narratives had emerged. Neither of them gave credence to satanic cult, though that's the story that's stuck publicly. There's a lot of credence to a satanic cult. I don't know what they're talking about
Yeah.
here. To the prosecutor, District Attorney Don Wall, we'll see later in these slides, the case had nothing to do with the occult. Yeah, it did. They just didn't look at it as an occult crime. They just looked at it as a sex crime. They
Right.
pulled a Lanning or whatever. Any reference to that was simply subterfuge, an attempt by Lamonica to wriggle her out of his own guilt. But this is what the causative factors are. They're
Mhm.
into Satanism, and that allows them to do anything. Like they might have been involved in crimes and other stuff to finance stuff. Who knows?
Right.
It was pedophilia, brutal and sustained and grim. Lamonica's sons, now 18 and 20, have given graphic accounts of long-term abuse at the hands of their father. Lamonica was engaged in a sexual relationship with both kids, it looks like. They also described occasions in which they were subjected to various abuses as they were passed between their father, Bernard, Paul Fontenot, and Paul Fontenot. At times they had claimed their mother and Trish Pearson were present. And there's Reggie Ledoux right there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, Todd, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's the
Well,
guy.
no, I can't actually see it, but I know what you're talking about.
There's the lawnmower man, spaghetti man.
Oh, yeah.
Client of the victim of a Christian cult led by a preacher named Lois Mowbray, then 54. He alleged that this false prophet had taken over and driven all but a small number of the worshippers from Hosanna Church, and this became her cult. Cleansed to vomit out demons. This is what the defense attorney said. They were all convicted, and then they're on appeal. The convictions were affirmed for Bernard and Lamonica Sr. I think I mentioned they're in jail for the rest of their lives.
Rest of their lives. No parole, right?
I don't know, but I'd have to look.
Yeah. Walter, what do you think of all this?
I think it's really interesting that, I had forgotten it. It's been a couple of years since I watched the documentary on this stuff, and them using some of the real names. It Like we've said before, and like we've said with Dana, I think that um, gosh darn it, Nick, what's his name?
Pizzolatto?
Pizzolatto. I think Pizzolatto was inspired and motivated to uncover something.
Yeah.
And as I said before, he got away with something in the first season that because it was so good and so popular that it first got past people that it wouldn't have got past otherwise. And they let it go on. Um, and I'm even more convinced that season two, he was going to do, he had started to do a similar thing because that first episode, and I think after we finish the first season with Dana, I
Mhm.
think we should discuss that first episode of season two because
Yeah.
um, there was Hecate symbolism and other things just jumping out as I was watching that first episode. And then even stuff that I looked up, if you recall, just to take a little side jaunt for a moment,
Yeah.
if you recall, Rachel McAdams' father ran a hippie commune and the something began with a P. Well, when I looked that up, it's named after an ancient city, and that ancient city venerated the goddess Hecate. And
Mhm.
so I was right that there was Hecate symbolism jumping out. And I
Yeah.
think they were told after that pilot episode, oh, hell no. No, no, no.
Right.
Because like I said a couple weeks ago, um, remember that second season was being promoted out of Pizzolatto's mouth. He said that season two was about the occult secrets associated with the U.S. interstate highway
Hmm.
system
That's right.
and transportation. Occult. He didn't say underworld as in
Yeah.
gangster and mob, which is the BS it ended up being. No,
Yeah.
he said occult. And I think because of what we're talking about today, that first season. I think this might be why we really haven't seen anything, not his fault, but
Right.
why we haven't seen
Now,
anything substantial from him since then.
if I'm not mistaken, um, Epstein met with Jimmy Savile in Louisiana. Was that was in the Epstein files, right?
Correct. There was
It could,
supposedly a meeting that involved Weinstein too, who's part of the Epstein network.
right. Now, I can't help but wonder if this church, although I understand that Epstein was probably an atheist, I can't help but wonder if this network had some connection to Epstein.
The timing is there. I
Yeah.
mean, it's right. I have to confirm that there was some type of meeting there that involved Savile
Yeah.
because that's really it. There's a trade show
Yeah.
that happened, and it's
which
like
is which is
let me see if I can bring this up.
yeah, the Epstein connection could very well be the reason that, you know, it alarmed people and he was shut down just starting the second season.
This is an intake from the FBI. It says trade show that was really awful in New Orleans. Glenn Dubin and Leon Black were present, and Jimmy Savile was the entertainment for the night. I wonder if that can be confirmed that he was at some trade show. Blank described it as pretty disgusting. When asked why it was disgusting, she explained that it was disgusting. She was in a room full of perverted men. This is like
What
True Detective.
what year was this?
Well, it was an intake thing from 2021.
Okay, but
I don't
I
know.
know,
That's
but
the whole thing.
what year was the trade show though?
That's what I'm asking, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It has to be confirmed. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to, maybe AI knows. I have to ask. I haven't gone that route.
Right.
But there's a really dark element of like the Epstein files that involves cannibalism and stuff that was written in 2020. And people are like, is this real or not? And the guy mentions facts that were validated through further research. So even before the Epstein files came out, this thing was written, and it was called Notes from a Dead Man or something like that. And people are like, is this real or not? And then the Epstein files come out, and people are like, was Epstein in Switzerland in 2014? And AI's like, yeah, he made a plane flight reservations over 2014 at that exact same time, which validated the story from 5 years ago.
Interesting. Now, we've seen networks like this before, especially in America. You know, there's the allegations that go with the McMartin preschool case. There's the Finders. There's all that stuff going on with Michael Aquino. Could all those little tiny sects or chapters be connected into one larger network?
100%. They overlap. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is these things overlap with Gacy, with what is it, the Odyssey Club, or Norman, I think was his
Right.
name. They're like moving around and traveling. And then Aquino's tied to Midwest and then to San Francisco as well. And then there's like allegations of everything that went down in the Atlanta child murders is associated with the process.
Right.
And so
Now,
it's like,
I wonder if we dig far enough, if any of these members had any sort of connection with the process church. Like, was Luis Lamonica Jr., was he in Louisiana the whole time, or did he spend any time abroad, perhaps in college? You know?
right, these are good questions. Because it seems like the cop, like it's really crazy because there's an obstruction of justice cause of action or charge that I mentioned earlier, and it pertains to a cop who they didn't know was involved in the network, and he was obstructing justice because he was part of the satanic network in the freaking police department, and they busted him. I just mentioned his name earlier. I mean, so it's like they were part of a network. That's
No
like
one's safe. That's
Right.
kind of the feeling you get. It's like no one's safe. Like that they have defiled the house of God, one, and then the person you're supposed to be able to turn to keep you safe, to uphold law and order, is a Satanist. So, I mean, talk about a destroyer in public confidence, at least in that small town.
Yeah, no, it's bad. And it's the theme of this. Even this Major Carpenter said the same is true. The case lived through. He said there's good and evil. I guess sometimes evil does overcome. I like to think that God sorts things out. It's up to the people involved to see if they can make it better. And that's kind of the end, how season episode 6 of True Detective ends, where they're outside the hospital and Rustin Cohle says it's the same old story. It's the battle of light and
Good and
dark
evil.
or something.
Yeah, light and dark. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And there's a lot of like articles. There's published articles about this whole case that went all over the world in 2005 because it's so dark.
yeah.
And you can just see this like ritual rape that made it to Calgary through
Oh.
Ponchatoula.
It's the kind of stuff, William, that makes you sick to your stomach.
Yeah, no, this is just what came forward too.
Yeah.
Like there's like all these other things like
Has it's been some years since they've gotten arrested. Have any of the now adult victims come forward? Anyone with any memories? I know the ones that were only months old probably don't remember anything, but the
the
ones that
in
were probably like 2 years old and older,
right in that documentary that was filmed, the
yeah.
guy who's the district attorney said he invited who he thought were victims in to give confessions or tell their story, and they said none of them talked. And then he saw one of them crying. So,
Yeah.
like, I think he was trying to insinuate or kind of show that, like, they didn't talk, but they felt like they went through something.
Right. Oh my God.
There's just 8 adults took part. There's really dark stuff, like from the videotape of the admissible of this child. So,
Yeah.
like, this is at the appeal. At trial, the state played in March 16th, 2005 videotape statement of AB, this young girl. AB indicated she was 5 years old, but discussed events that allegedly occurred when she was 1 year old. She claimed she had shown her mother some very, very tricky, bad games. She claimed Miss Trish was a witch, and AB had written her on her broom. How do you know this at 5? She
Yeah.
claimed Mr. Al, Mr. Cruz, Papa Jake. Now, these are people who aren't like the named people charged. There's nobody named Cruz. So, like, that makes me Papa Jake. Like, where are these other nicknames? Mr. Al, Mr. Cruz, Papa Jake, Uncle Paul, Daddy, Pastor Lewis, and ML and SL had stuck needles in her. She indicated that needles had been placed in her eyes. She indicated that Daddy also put needles in her toes. She claimed her bottom had bled from the needles. She claimed a needle, fork, and knife were placed in her. She claimed ghosts had come out when she played puzzles. She indicated that Uncle Paul and Papa Jake had made her drink something yucky that came from their weenies. She further claimed that Papa Jake, Paul, Chris, I just don't know, blank, blank, blank. She claimed that Daddy, Mr. Chris, had videotaped her talking when she did not have clothes on. She claimed ML were 10 years old, so she's with other kids. Mr. Chris was 11. Uncle Paul was 12. Papa Jake was 2. Asked if she could remember events that occurred when she was young. She indicated they told everyone. And so that was an issue of whether her statement was admissible, I think.
Yeah.
And even the Cult Education Network, it's still on their website. They have all these articles on this case still. So you just see these. I mean, if you can see, there's like 20 articles. And then this is the film that I'm mentioning that Walter saw. It's called The Real True Detective, and it's covered by Gianna Toponi. I don't think Vice News is doing real well.
No, they're not. I think they're on the verge of closing down.
They had a run, and this guy Don Wall was the lead prosecutor. So they have like legitimate guys who like talked about it.
Right.
Said it was the most disturbing thing. I'm doing this because I can't show the video for YouTube.
Right. No, I got you. I understand. Yeah.
Most disturbing thing I've ever heard. Here's Captain Stuart Murphy. Most disturbing in the history of the state. This guy. Tom Tedder. He said in May 2005 from the FBI, Lamonica walked in.
We're down to under a minute. Let's jump over to the other link.
Okay.
And some of to my knowledge, his confession is not available anywhere. There are pieces of it in the the original complaint and then in the appeal, but
Okay.
he wrote 200 pages. So I mean, it's got to be super
Holy
interesting.
crap.
Yeah. So, but there are pieces of it that are shown during this video from Vice. And so I've taken screenshots of it. And it's like Lamonica, walk around and chance and temptations. And then after it was over with, she'd be standing in the middle. It was like her little dress outfit was taken off. There was an animal killed. If I remember right, it was a cat killed, blood drained, and everybody. And the way it was held. And it was in the youth room. All windows had black cover on them, like back paper to keep it dark. Pentagram in the middle, that was made by Trey Bernard. Trey Bernard and Trish. There was a book of spells and temptations. It would start off with like a church service, but it was satanic music. There was candles burning, dark red candles. Sprinkle, dedication, dedication. And it was not like the whole threw it all over. It was like a dedication unto Satan. And the
Like
blood
a black
was,
mass.
yeah. The blood was, she was to close off when the blood was thrown on her. And then he literally says some of them, because of demons, and I'm including myself in all this, could be having sex with somebody. Now, I don't know if you want to talk. Like I had worn like hair, but I didn't wear fox hair. Sometimes it would be like a snake, like a fox. Detective, let me try to understand what you're telling me here. Are you saying to me like you would change? Lamonica, literally, you see, you are welcoming demonic spirits. My face would distort. These are testimonies that people would say of other people. Somebody said they saw Epstein's face distort.
Huh. Now, William, by any chance, is there a Aleister Crowley connection to this?
I didn't see one. There's one in True Detective because the guy mentions Crowley, if you remember, the
Yeah.
lawnmower man. He's like, "Oh yeah, over in Crowley."
Yeah.
But I couldn't find one.
Okay.
This guy looks pretty normal. Like if you saw him walking down the street, Austin Bernard just looks like your average guy, 5'10",
Now,
39.
and remind the audience, Austin Bernard was the guy running the show, or was it Luis Lamonica Jr.?
It was Luis Lamonica, but Bernard is this guy who was known as the mastermind. So
Okay.
that's the mastermind right there. Bernard, I did touch my daughter, blank, and I have improper contact with her, about 1 year old. I began having shaking hands when changing her diaper, fearing what I'm capable of. And then the boys of Lamonica did these drawings that aren't public. They're in the documentary, but like they're not good. But you can
Yeah.
tell this kind of costume type stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Like
It's
dressed up.
almost paganistic with the animals.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And there's like weird stuff. Like there's
It
people naked carrying crosses in there.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Egyptology in a way, because the gods had animal heads.
Yeah, it's really weird. There's LaMonica's booking picture.
Yeah.
This is the evidence storage that they have still there. Somebody's over by Ponchatoula, see if it's still there. The
Oh
DA is
wow.
maintaining it. Can you imagine going through that?
Yeah.
And this is the girl Taboni. She's saying that some of these, like, they kept some of the wall scribbles, but like there were statements on the walls that you could only see in black light. So they would turn on the black light and then the writing would become perceptible.
Now, if I'm correct about this, let me know. Or if I'm wrong about this, let me know. They bulldozed the parking lot and they blacked out the windows because they didn't want people, like, everyday citizens coming into the church.
There was a dig that took place behind the church looking for evidence,
I
and they
see.
didn't find any evidence.
I
But I
see.
don't know if the satanic cult was involved in like blocking something out. I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
The testimonies of Lamonica's sons to counselors were used as evidence, but the children would not testify against their father in court. They later retracted their testimonies and denied the abuse had taken place.
Mhm.
And then at the end, this is the the officer who was there, Murphy, and he's like, we just saw a small piece of the puzzle. Like, he didn't think they caught them all. He didn't think that.
Yeah.
And it's the same theme that happens at the end of True Detective.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Episode 8. Yeah.
Oh, was it 8 episodes? I forgot.
Yeah.
So episode 8, thank you. He goes like, I don't think we got them all. Rustin Cole says something like that.
But we got ours.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I think it's really hard for the average person to even conceive this, right? Because it's like something out of a horror film.
Yeah.
Or a nightmare, you know.
Look
But
at how
it's real,
normal.
folks.
Look at how normal
Real.
they look. They just fit
Yeah.
into the community.
Yeah.
They look like residents of Ponchatoula or whatever.
They're not wearing all black. They don't have a bunch of piercings. They look like everyday average people.
Yeah. This guy just looks like your average tech bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did for a living.
Oh my gosh.
I'm wondering if any of these guys had ceremonial magic in their backgrounds when they were teens or anything like that. It's not uncommon for males who are into magic to go into the clergy.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen repeatedly that these churches have all been infiltrated. The Catholic Church, we've talked about that with the Sister Margaret Ann Paul murder from 1980, and the pedophile scandals surrounding the Catholic Church. Uh, I mean, these groups have penetrated everything, probably all the way up to intelligence. Walter, do you think, with your intelligence background, do you think it's possible that Satanists, or I should say theistic Satanists, have infiltrated the government or at least the intelligence community?
Well, if you're publicly aware of Michael Aquino, the
Right.
answer privately is hell yes.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
can't.
want to make people paranoid, but you really need to be careful with who you talk to about certain things. You need to be
Yeah.
aware that when you do talk publicly about these things, that there are people listening. You need to tread carefully around people whom you know do ceremonial magic. I've known a couple of people who do ceremonial magic that, as far as I knew, oh, it's just, the white magic, it's the nice this, that, and the other stuff. And then inevitably down the road, you find out that they went into the dark stuff. And, they can be, you find out that they are, what's a malignant narcissist, and they can be very vindictive. Now, some people say, well, if you don't believe in this stuff, it doesn't work, it won't affect you. Maybe so, but they're out there, and if they're out there in society, yes, just like being drawn to the clergy, being drawn to uh, uh, church type of positions, yeah, the intelligence world absolutely draws them.
George Bush Sr., guys, total Satanist, man.
Yeah.
Total heavy duty Satanist. But I think it's interesting, just the corollary between Hosanna and then what happens in True Detective. It's not, I think it's underemphasized in True Detective. If I had a quibble or a criticism, is that they didn't make the connection between this guy and the videotape as clear as possible. And some of the names of the victims too. Because it's sometimes if you aren't like the first viewing, you forget that Tuttle is the guy who has the videotape of the abuse. But so this is Tuttle with the neon cross, which I think is perfect.
Now,
Well,
oh, go ahead.
maybe Pizzolatto was trying to dramatically emphasize that sometimes it's not always so clear as we would like it. Sometimes it's the stuff surrounding somebody. Look, people, because of TV and movies, people have come to believe that circumstantial evidence doesn't count, that it's no good. And that's the opposite is true. Circumstances matter. And
Yeah.
many people have been rightfully, not in all cases, as we know, but and that usually involves somebody lying.
Yeah.
But circumstantial evidence has rightfully seen people convicted, in many cases. So I think maybe Pizzolatto was showing how circumstances,
Mhm.
we can draw the conclusion. There's enough there, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. When you watch the story, you get the gist, you get the idea. He had that tape.
Right. This is the guy with the tape, is the Christian evangelical or whatever. It's an interesting kind of drawing shot where they're drawing back and Tuttle comes in and closes the doors on him.
Right. The question is, how many Tuttles are out there?
Right. I, I did that show on Rex on Hewerman. It's Hewerman's uncle or whatever, who
Yeah.
was a Protestant minister, Protestant
Oh,
church pastor who had a civil case like within the last 2 or 3 years about SRA. Like it's
really?
unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'll do a show with you on that. What's that?
oh, and it was his father was a aerospace engineer.
That's right. So his father's brother was literally sued and it went to court. And I think there was a settlement. And there was the court case involved a network of pastors. And during the time of the abuses taking place, women are being found dead in cars in northern New York. It's unbelievable.
Oh,
Like it's
wow.
around Albany and stuff like that, like where the state capitol is.
Yeah.
And then, as you guys know, this is kind of like the famous sequence where Rust Cohle shows the videotape in
Yeah.
front of the pedophile symbol to Hart.
Right.
And then there's
Right.
all the costumes and stuff like that. This has like become a meme, the smoking the cigarette or whatever.
Hmm.
In front of the Yellow King Carcosa.
I
And there,
think Pizzolatto's use of the Carcosa and Yellow King theme is, among other things, a nod to Peter Levenda's work, and specifically when Peter Levenda talks about that there's something really old and dark, particularly in New England and Appalachia, an old
Oh, yeah.
tradition connected to
I,
old traditions. And this is what these people are doing, in my opinion, is an ancient tradition.
yeah.
It can possibly involve cattle mutilations, as some researchers and investigators have proposed,
Right.
and
Well,
that it's something going on
yeah.
much more prevalently than we realize in the halls of power,
Right.
which is why these people feel like they can do this with impunity,
Right.
because for the most part, they can,
Hmm.
like the show and like we've said and William
Right.
has said, for every one that we learn about and they catch, there's 10 or 100 more that
Right.
we're
That's
not.
right. As far as the cattle mutilations, I have a personal hypothesis, and of course, I am most likely wrong on this, but it was back in, I want to say 74, a prison inmate whose name slips my mind wrote a ufologist talking about he knows what was going on with the cattle mutilations, and a group called the Sons of Satan were performing these cattle mutilations. Of course, the cattle mutilations took place in 67, 73, and again in 75. And interestingly enough, the Sons of Satan was the group Stephen Craig Hurd was in. Although it was the biker gang, it's not unreasonable to believe, if there is any truth to it, that perhaps one thing grew out of the other, considering that Stephen Craig Hurd's chapter of the Sons of Satan, none of the members owned by motorcycles. So it's kind of hard to be a motorcycle gang when you don't have any motorcycles to ride, right? I mean,
good
yeah.
point.
Yeah. So I kind of just spitballing a hypothesis. I think it's quite possible that it was the Sons of Satan.
Whenever
But I
they
could be wrong.
whenever they mention cattle mutilations, I always think about the quote from the Book of the Law, Crowley's Book of the Law,
Yeah.
which is like blood of the moon or in that blood of a bull, next.
Yeah.
I always think of that for their rituals. Here's Pizzolatto with his appearance. I think episode 5, episode 6. Maybe you guys.
Right. Was he the bartender, right? Is
Yeah, I
that
think the
was yeah,
bartender at the bar, right?
right.
Yeah,
He
at the
has an
nudie
interesting
bar.
background. Pardon?
At the nudie bar.
At
At
the
the
nudie
nudie bar,
bar,
yeah.
yeah.
And they only go there once, if I'm not mistaken, and that's the scene he's in.
That's the rough part about being blind, Walter.
Can't see the nudie bar.
In the end, you're not missing anything.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I think strip bars are demeaning to men. They're not demeaning to women. The women
Right,
have all the
right.
power in the nudie bar.
You know,
I
I
was
got a
just making a
call.
cheap joke.
I got a
know,
call
I'm-
one night some years back, and my son was around 21, 22. Phone rings, I answer. It's my son. I hear music in the background. He goes, "Hey, Dad, guess where I'm at?" I'm like, "I couldn't imagine. You're out with your friends." He goes, "Yeah, we're at the nudie bar." I'm like, "Oh, is that your first time?" He goes, "Yeah." He paused, and then he said, "It's kind of stupid, isn't it?" I'm like, "Bingo, you learned early."
Yeah. No, it's demeaning to men.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things, one of the little data points, this is just kind of a follow on. We can go further into the Hosanna Church scandal, but this is just him drinking a beer. This means that anything he says can never be admissible because he's drunk.
Right.
That's the whole thing. And these are the key elements. Like he's actually is being investigated because the two black guys think he's the perp because
Right.
they see him at the scene of the crime. So he's the true detective, though. That's kind of the interesting twist.
Yeah.
One of the interesting elements, I don't know if you guys discussed it. Did you guys discuss Thomas Ligotti? The whole Thomas Ligotti
Oh, yeah,
kerfuffle?
yeah, yeah. Conspiracy against the human race.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We've talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just that there's similarities between him. It's kind of the occult connection because Ligotti was in a band and worked with some high level Crowley people. Like you asked
Really?
me earlier about Crowley. Yeah. He was
Yeah.
in a band called Current 93. And
Huh.
so you can look that up. 93 is Crowley's number.
Yeah.
And you can look it up. And so there is this kind of like anti-natalist occult influence on the thinking of Pizzolatto.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're accusing him of plagiarism. I don't think he plagiarized him. I think he used some of just this very bleak, stark, nihilistic worldview that really
Yeah.
starts off episode 1.
Right. I mean, the character in the book isn't, I know it's nonfiction, right? So that person is not the only person with a bleak worldview, So it's kind of a ridiculous thing to think he stole from somebody else.
Right. I had another set of slides. I mean, we could go through that if you want. I think I sent that over to you. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
But there's so much to talk about on this one. It's pretty incredible. It's just it's just a very well written for its time too. Nobody was really talking about any of this
One
stuff.
day there's going to be books written on the first season of True Detective.
I'm surprised there isn't yet.
Oh, I bet you one day I bet they're coming. I bet someone out there is like, researching this stuff, as we all know, can take years. And once you dive down one rabbit hole, that leads to a whole nother rabbit hole. Especially with like the pedophile network stuff, right? Where does it end? It doesn't really ever end.
It doesn't end, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you said, I think there's a network out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like a network of these people that
Yeah.
know each other, know the symbols, much like the Epstein network. They just know each other.
Right.
I think one of the, I mean, don't get me wrong, people write about dark true crime all the time and such, but after 7 years of Empire the Wheel research in 3 books, I had to take a break from it. Just because, just get away from that stuff because it was just, the murder of children in the first book that I talk about, and just all the other things. And I think this stuff can be so disturbing that at some point, maybe some people out there that would write a book
Mhm.
just kind of put it down and walk away from the idea, you know?
Yeah, that's probably true.
It's
That's
rough.
probably
It's
true.
rough stuff. There's
I know
just
I have to take breaks. So,
here's Lamonica with his attorney, whose last name is Teal, Thiel.
oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know, Michael Teal.
See, no relation to
I don't
Peter,
know.
huh?
It's a weird,
Gee, what a
it's
coincidence.
really strange. And there's a lot of articles like these are new pictures, different pictures. It is a network. These are some of the old stuff I had. Tim Norman, retired property developer who lives next to the church, said Lamonica and his flock waged an intimidation campaign to try to force him to move out. He said their behavior, such as making Indian whooping noises in his garden, became increasingly odd. They wanted to baptize their children in my creek. I said, "You can't do that. There's gators in there."
Interesting. That's very, again,
I
that's also very paganistic.
Yeah, I have a bone to pick as a scholar and researcher, and both you guys, I think, will understand the logic of this. Um, when I hear, we talk about satanic, 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 pagan, pagan, pagan.
Yeah.
Um, I like to be more specific because in
Yeah.
the details, you're going to be able to identify the particular devil that's being venerated. And by
Yeah.
identifying the particular devil in the details, as an investigator, it helps you kind of investigate the case better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
Satanic is kind of a catch-all that unfortunately glosses over what could be good threads.
Yeah.
And I see in this, my mind is, oh boy, what the heck tradition or traditions were they really, something tells me that voodoo might have been in the mix too. I mean, it's Louisiana.
Santeria.
Um, Santeria, Palo Mayombe,
Mhm.
It's right
and
there.
remember bastardizations of it
Right.
that's the thing because there is a voodoo tradition that is not an evil thing that they don't go around doing evil things. I mean,
Right.
evangelistic Christians would be crapping
Well,
their pants
I
left
mean,
and
it's
right, but
it's just like any other religion, like there's good voodoo practitioners, and then there's the Bukor, which
yeah.
is like a bad voodoo practitioner. Uh, and you've got your bad ministers and your crappy ministers, right? Like we've just heard about like the pastors abusing kids from William.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just like anything else.
Yeah, this is an interesting article. It made it to this story made it to the New York Times, May 25th, 2005. And it's interesting because they did some good research on the dad. He's like, the church finally closed its doors after a ferocious following out between the pastor's son and successor. The congregation, once near 1,000, had dwindled to 10 or 15 troubled souls.
Hmm.
Luz Lamonica, deputy chef, sexual abuse of perhaps 24 children, and mutilations of cats. What happened is clear. He told congregants Sunday the prophecy of witchcraft problems had been revealed. When the leadership of that church kept the enemy out, everything was fine. But when the leadership of that church let the enemy in, things began to change. The authorities, who first got a whiff of trouble 6 weeks ago when a woman, Nicole Bernard, that's Bernard's wife, Bernard was the mastermind, called the sheriff's office from Ohio to say she had fled the town to save her child from sexual abuse and still trying to piece together what happened. This is what the finders was like, this next paragraph.
Yeah.
9 people have been arrested, so they arrested 9 people. It's not just one. A dozen computers have been seized, at least some of which the police believe contain child pornography, as well as dozens of videotapes, hundreds of computer disks, and 8 large boxes of documents and photographs. So they had like a huge like network. They were using computers and stuff. Like who has hundreds of computer disks?
Right.
Somebody making movies or something.
Now, this is a question for both Walter and William. Now, considering it was once a Christian church with tax exempt status that kind of covertly switched over to Satanism, would there be any financial ramifications from like the IRS
Oh, I don't
as
know.
part
It's a
of
good
those
question.
charges?
My understanding is that the church is still in use. It's just under different proprietorship. Like there's a new pastor there.
Oh, okay.
Like it's called like a Christian center or something like that.
I
Yeah,
see.
if it's still basically if the paperwork is still on file and they're still filing what they need to file, they could change it to the Gospel of Bozo the Clown, and they would
I
still be
see.
the 501c or whatever it is, where
Yeah.
they would, be tax exempt and such.
Yeah.
You know, so the irony is, at least they probably weren't paying taxes, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying at least like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
At minimum, they were, not paying taxes and whatever money was going through there. Was there any discussion of that, of maybe money being laundered on behalf of
It didn't come
another?
across like anything I read. I didn't see that. Like it's
Yeah.
like they don't see the whole network. What is everybody doing in this whole group? How are they making
Right.
money? How are they getting income? How are they paying
Exactly.
like their lease for the church?
Right.
Or worth the mortgage? Like it's a
I
big
mean-
church.
What's the number on missing children in that area at that
Good
time?
question. What other crimes have taken place in the last 5 or
Yeah.
10 years around there?
They could have been
Right.
making money on children.
What year was Katrina?
Oh, that's a really good
Oh
question.
05
05? So that was
or 04?
It's right around this time.
Yeah.
yeah. Interesting. How much evidence would be washed away in that?
2005, August 29th, 2005.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So this is May. So not that pretty close. It's right after this.
Yeah.
I
One
wonder
of the
if there
interesting
was
pardon?
any connections to the mega churches.
I didn't see it. But what's interesting is that this guy, Christopher Labat, 24, was a deputy sheriff of Tangipahoa Parish. So the same parish has a member in there. So there's somebody who's either infiltrated or is a member of the satanic cult in the police force while it's
Right.
being investigated.
What denomination of Christianity was this again?
Protestant in general. I don't know the specific
Protestant.
one.
Isn't there like some sort of council that's like over all the Protestant churches?
It depends.
It
Yeah.
depends which sect
The-
within the Protestant
Yeah,
church.
the Methodists have their own, the Baptists have their own, and when you get into what's called non-denominational, it becomes even more vague.
I see.
And now the evangelicals, those that would be officially labeled evangelical, I think they have an authority over them.
Right.
But yeah, it just like William said, it depends on.
Hey, Walter. So based on the evidence that has been presented here, what entity do you think they were venerating?
Well, I've looked to see if they were a dark Kali Ma
Yeah.
angle. I'm still looking. That's why I'm looking, because the Kali Ma thing was mostly, I misspoke. That was mostly the cattle mutilations. As we know, cows are sacred in Hinduism, and an official Kali veneration and worship that is forbidden. But there is the left-hand dark path, like in
Right.
Tibetan Buddhism, there is the dark path where they do the opposite things. So
Right.
a rogue group, say, of Kali Ma worshippers would do the opposite. They
Right.
would slaughter cows and stuff. Now, I would have to look closer to be able to, try to answer that with any
Right.
accuracy, but
So that
it's in there. It'll be in there.
yeah. So that's interesting because with those cattle mutilations, there was the cows were drained of blood,
Yeah, which
essentially.
makes that interesting. But in this one, as William pointed out, they were killing cats.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe, and I'm just drawing this out of the air, okay? Um, maybe there's some dark Egyptian magic that
Yeah.
sacrificed cats. Cats were holy and venerated to the Egyptians,
Right.
so that would, to them, sacrificing that holy animal would be, kind of like the sacrificial virgins, right?
Right.
In some cultures where they throw them in the volcano or whatever, they are
What
the
did
virgins, they're venerated. So, you're offering the great offering to the gods.
yeah.
So I don't know if anyone's ever thought of, the Egyptian possibility.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's the vibe you get with like the animal mask too. Is like I was saying, like because each god has a different animal head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Egyptian magic is called Hecate, Hekat, which is, you spell Hecate, you
Yeah.
add an E on there. So there is a general connection to Hecate there, but it's the type of connection that makes all the paranoiacs say, oh, see, she's an evil, dark entity,
Yeah.
demon, this, that, and the other, and they don't know what they're talking about.
Did you guys know that one of the main scholars of the early Druid culture is a guy named Hecataeus?
No. Wow. I'm not surprised though. I'm not.
Well, it's just a really unfortunate name. It's one of those Greek names.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned Katrina,
Yeah.
Todd, because this picture says reborn. Hosanna Church was decimated by Hurricane Katrina, and the Christian Life Church was erected. So I
Oh,
guess
wow.
it's already gone. This is the new.
So
Um,
they had to build a new church.
it sounds like it or rebuild it or something.
To
Yeah.
kind of re-bless
Yeah.
desecrated ground.
You would definitely have to re-bless the church. And I mean, let's not forget, like with these churches, don't forget what Father Malachi Martin said about the enthronement of the enemy, or enthronement of the prince in the citadel of the enemy, the Luciferian ritual that happened in the Vatican, as well as in a Catholic church in either uh, South or North Carolina. So,
Interesting.
yeah. That was
This
if you read In the Shadow of the Vatican, that I believe they at least the South Carolina part of it was confirmed via the church's records.
Interesting. This says the entity named the Yellow King, a reference to Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos character Hastur. The real life abuse cult claimed their rituals were legally deemed satanic in nature. Apart from this, several characters in the series were directly inspired by the ones involved in the Hosanna Church scandal, including Pastor Billy Lee Tuttle and Louisiana Governor Ed Tuttle.
Huh.
That's right. So Ed Tuttle was his brother. Is he played by somebody? I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but it's a
Maybe they're
big
just
family.
mentioned, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's like a Landry family in Louisiana. Have you ever
Yeah.
heard of them? They like run the state. They're all
Huh.
politicians and they've like their kids become governors and stuff like that. You ever heard of that?
I
Maybe
haven't.
that's what the
That's
reference is to, like this
it's like a
powerful.
huge political dynasty, it
Yeah,
sounds like.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like a Bush dynasty or something like that.
Right.
I was trying to see if anything would pop up in a quick look at Egyptian traditions and
I
black magic, and I'm not finding anything yet. But
maybe like a Google search of like what cultures sacrificed cats. Could I know that there's animal sacrifice in Greece. So I mean that might turn up something because they used to sacrifice dogs to Hecate.
Well, guys, we got about 3 minutes. Let's
Oh, okay. Hey, William, where can we find you?
William Ramsey Investigates podcast. I've got 5 books available on Amazon, and
Yeah.
you can see my 5 documentaries on my Patreon page.
Yeah.
great.
That's awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. This was an awesome show and awesome information. Well, really dark information. That I'm sure most of the public wishes they did, to turn a blind eye to, but you can't turn a blind eye to this stuff,
No,
or
no,
you
not
may
at
fall
all.
prey to it.
Hey, real quick to try and begin to answer your question, I did look that up, and yes, it's in Egyptian tradition, the worship and veneration of Bastet. Cats would
Bastet.
be sacrificed.
Interesting.
So
And
that's a
what?
start.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
So,
for
okay,
sure.
well, another great discussion
Yeah,
involving True Detective season one. It's the
that's
gift that
right.
never stops
Yeah,
giving, right,
there's more
guys?
to that story. There is a book to be written on Hosanna, just Hosanna itself, just for
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
memorialization, because there's enough information in there, and it's like inspired, like
right.
in the
absolutely.
parapolitical world or alternate media. Everybody goes back to True Detective. Almost
Yes,
Right.
everybody I know loves True
Well,
Detective.
it
True
strikes a
Detective,
chord.
a True Detective gives a lot of researchers their start, I think. Before we go, I just want to shout out the official Killafornia Patreon, and that is patreon.com/C/Killafornia. Check it out. It's right now most of it's all about the four pi movement and the four pi movement research. You can come and try and help us solve the case if you want.
Cool, cool. And remember that get my books and the books I've written with Todd only at lulu.com, lulu.com. We do not distribute on Amazon. They are not good for independent authors or micropress publishers. I will say this every time. Only at lulu.com.
And on social media, all of us are on Courier Pigeon. And they just updated it, so now you get to keep the pigeon once you get the message.
What's carrier pigeon? I'm clearly not on
It's
it.
social media for the Amish, by the Amish. You write a little note, you attach it to the pigeon's leg, and now that they've been giving the pigeons cocaine, they go 3 or 4 times faster than
I
they
love
used
it.
to. And you get to eat them. It's food. It's a
Oh, there
free
you go.
meal.
Chick, you know,
Yeah.
there's some joke about pigeon. Oh, rats with wings. That's what they call
Ah,
them.
that's right. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to feed them in Florence.
Yeah.
William, have a great rest of your evening, my friend.
You
And
too. Thanks for having
Yes,
me back, guys.
indeed.
Great to be with you.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
being on, William. We'll
Yeah,
see you
thanks for
next
the
time,
invite.
definitely.
yeah.
All the best.